Hello, welcome to Matters Decorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. Not my usual episode. This is not going to be one of my standard types of episodes. I am going to be discussing real world problems instead of fictional world problems. And if that is not the kind of thing you want to hear me talk about, that's perfectly understandable. You can click away right now. No hard feelings. I'll be back with more stuff about role-playing games and fiction next week. If you're still with me, my country's burning. That's a statement with a lot to unpack. United States of America is having a bit of a problem right now, and that we are once again addressing a problem that we seem to keep having. And that is the problem of institutional racism and its effect upon the citizenry. That there are fairly obvious differences in how people of different races in this country are treated, some in particular worse than others. This also boils over into difference in how people of different classes are treated. I'm not an expert on any of this. I'm not an expert on enumerating what the difficulties are. I'm not an expert on racial tensions, the plight of African Americans, or the history of the racism that has been utilized in this country, nor the tactics that have been utilized to keep races apart, on suppression and campaigns of misinformation. It's hard to miss these days. When I was a young man growing up, there was a problem, but that was a local thing. That was individuals. That was things that happened. That was stuff from movies and television. You watch the Rockford Files, and this was a special issue. Or got that one character on the Mod Squad. Well, he was black, and this kind of stuff just happens, and that's part of the culture of the 70s, man. And it's harder to ignore as you grow up, and it never goes away. You watch Enter the Dragon, and man, it's yeah. You don't understand until you're older that having one of the characters be an African American man who was on the run from the law because he was attacked by police officers and defended himself. What a powerful statement that was, and that wasn't an element of fiction. That was, of the things presented in that movie, that was one of the more real elements. I can only speak for me. Other channels have spoken up as groups. Other individuals have spoken up. I can only speak for me. But I absolutely can speak for me. It seems a shame to have to take the time to say it, but racism is wrong in all of its forms, particularly as it is practiced in my very own country. Racism is wrong. Everyone should be treated as equal under the law, offered and protected by the same protections from any background of any race, of any social standing, demographic, or financial background. Your economics should not govern what brand of justice you get. Your race should not govern how you are treated by law enforcement. It is, but that does not make it right. That makes it current practice many places. Not every place in America does this, but you can find plenty where that is exactly the rule. It's wrong, and that is what the protests are about. I make a distinction about the protests. The riots, some of that, as we are seeing, and our information is going to change day by day. We're in the middle of this. This is June 3rd, 2020. We are seeing agent provocateurs from outside inciting these riots, seeing people leaving piles of bricks where they know there is going to be a protest, just hoping someone picks it up and does the wrong thing. We're seeing police departments respond to peaceful protests with violence of their own and escalating the situation. Seeing the Attorney General of the United States commanding federal personnel to open fire on people exercising their First Amendment constitutional right to free speech to clear a path for the president to have a photo op. Sorry, janked off to the left a little bit there. We are seeing people from all across the spectrum as looters. I was in Los Angeles for the Rodney King riots. I worked with people who came in gleefully asking if anyone had seen them on TV taking that sofa out of that furniture store. Riots are caused by violent response. Looting is caused by the availability of looting. The sheer number of people coming from outside of areas to where they think there is going to be opportunity. These are all distinctly different from the generally peaceful protests that were launched and have not been responded to particularly peacefully. In places they have been, in other places they have not. That there is a concerted effort to conflate the rioters, the looters, and the protesters all as one group. No, it's all the same thing. And when they go away, everything's fine. Everything just goes back to normal. Which is exactly what the people are protesting against. There are so many people who want this all to go away, who want everything that's happened this year to go away, who just want a do-over. This COVID thing, once that goes away, everything's fine. These protests and riots, once these go away and we go back to the way everything should be, everything's fine. Except there wasn't a way everything should be beforehand. Was there? There was a status quo. There's a status quo I didn't need to worry about. But I saw where there were cracks in it. I saw that it was not perfect. I saw that it could be better. Make no mistake, I love my country. I'm proud to be American. But loving my country doesn't mean finding it flawless. It's quite the opposite. I love my country like I love my son. I would like everything to be perfectly good there. But if there is a problem, I have to love him enough to correct him. I have to love him enough to try and make sure he grows up the right way and does the right thing. And occasionally that means unpleasantness. It's a parent's prerogative. It's also a citizen's and a voter's prerogative. No one is flawless. No one is perfect. Not me, not my local or my federal government. Not my country. We don't have a history of perfection. We have a history of trying to correct for our problems. Or trying to slide back into them depending on who you are asking at the moment. And right now, we're not correcting for our problems. In fact, we are seeing a culture that doesn't want to correct for the problems. If you love the country, you love the country exactly as it is right now, or the way it was just a little while ago, and if we can just get back to that, that'll be fine. Once these protests are over, we need to go back to that. Once this disease is over, we need to go back to that. We need to go back to the way things were because that's when we were best as Americans. And to say that, to deny that we can and should make progress, to deny that we can and should do better, that's un-American. This country is built on progress and built on growth. It was built on some pretty heinous practices too. We have done a lot of things as a country. We built this nation on another people's land and brought people from another land against their will to help us build it. Well, I say help so that we could tell them to build it for us. Taking advantage of every population we could possibly take advantage of. But we can do better. We should. I have some suggestions. They are not large and grandiose as I like to paint things. They are not giant, dramatic suggestions. I'm reaching very few people at the moment, and I'm okay with that. Just a couple of things. If you are looking for facts, look as many different places as you can find them. And if you find a fact that does not match what you already know, don't just discard it. Take that as a challenge. Track it down. Find its source. See where that fact came from and figure out why you think that fact was put there. Collate everything that you can. See where all the points of view lie. Then start to form an opinion. Let those opinions come late, after research, after digging, after looking around. Give things a little bit of time. Let the knee-jerk reactions die down a little bit. And try not to focus your attention on one or the other side of the political aisle. See if you can find things that aren't cited on the political aisle whatsoever. Find eyewitness accounts and dash cam videos. Find the meat of where things are happening. Because truth is where the rubber meets the road. Having formed opinions, having looked at things with as critical an eye as you can muster, employ critical thinking, analyze these things. Don't let someone else tell you what your opinion of these facts are. That's very comfortable and very easy to do these days because everyone has an opinion, and some of those opinions will make you feel good about yourself. And those are the ones you absolutely have to question. Because make no mistake, people who are giving you opinions that make you feel good about yourself know that is what they are doing. Get your own facts. Make up your own opinions. And if you can't be bothered to do that, don't start kicking around everyone else's opinions as though they're yours. Because you're not helping. And no matter what opinion you come up with, no matter what your opinion, no matter how you find these things, vote. Do not bypass that single crucial right of every American citizen. Vote. Vote which party? Not my problem. Not my concern. Shouldn't be yours. Vote the issues. Does this person agree with what you want done? And sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and take the one that's closer. Vote. Don't let anyone convince you your vote doesn't count, because they're certainly screeching a lot about it for something that doesn't matter. Don't let someone ply you over to their side. It's not about pretty promises. It's about, does this make us better? Does this move us forward? Does this help? and in your opinion, based on what you have seen, based on what you have been able to derive, your critical thought, in your very own eyes, make the best choice you can. Make a choice. If I ever try and tell you a particular direction to vote, I have a preference. It should not matter to you. My preference is my preference. My preference and my views are mine. Don't take my word for any of this. Research. I am one point of data and I'm not a particularly good point of data. If I have given you an idea of where you want to go and look or what you would like to look at, great, that's awesome. Do not take my word for a single bit of this. Find your truth. Find the truth. Average your sources. Think about it critically. Apply some analysis. Make a decision and vote. We are going into the future at the rate of 1 minute for every minute that passes. We are in a time machine with no brake set to a constant acceleration and we can't get off. This bitch is going to the future. And no matter what we do, we can make choices right now that see to it that we don't make it all the way to the end of the trip. None of us are making it all the way to the end of the trip, but I'm really hoping my kids do. Or at least much further on to generational craft. And what we can have now is nice. What we can have now is important to a certain degree, but it pales in comparison to what the future holds for those we leave behind, for those coming up in our wake. I'm not going to be here forever, neither are you. But there's going to be someone next for a while if we do this right, if we're better. I believe we can always improve. There is never a point at which we are done improving. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And we can move forward, or we can sink our feet in the mud and mire ourselves in the present, or worse, the past, and tell ourselves this is fine. But you know it's not. Well, that is me. It was rambling and it was very general for the most part, and it was not the kind of thing where I really wanted to get into specifics. I try very hard not to talk about these topics. I like having a neutral presence. I like not being too offensive in one direction or another. It's a comfortable place for me to be because it does not invite too much criticism or contrariness. But on these types of matters, okay, every so often, you have to. Because you cannot remain silent. Things are happening that are wrong, that are clearly wrong, that are demonstrably wrong. And if we do not stand up to the things that are wrong, we're just as wrong. We could sit back and clutch our pearls and offer thoughts and prayers all we want. But if you're not doing something, you're not helping. Well, that's my opinion. And again, welcome to your own. Thank you very much for watching this particular episode. This, more than anything else, is what matters to me. This is usually where I shill for likes, comments, and subscribes. Bring up my Patreon link. And not this time. Not this time. If you'd like to let me know if this resonated with you, I'm interested in hearing. And if it didn't, I'm also interested in that opinion. We get more done with discussion than with argument, where we're trying to learn one another as opposed to trying to educate one another. So comment away if that is what you are feeling. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening. I hope you're still with me. But whether you are or not, this is where I'm standing. And I can do no other, God help me. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I will see you next time on the next, probably much more lighthearted Matters of Decorum.